Happy Thursday morning. This is your last full day of school for the week, and here's your warm-up. Go ahead and pause the video. If I was you, I would draw the two shapes down on my piece of paper and answer these 4 questions. Find the measurement of x and y, find the scale factor, find the area and perimeter of the small figure, and then we learned an equation to find the area and perimeter using scale factor. I want you to use that equation of the larger figure. If you don't remember what that equation is, you should go back to your vocabulary. It should be there, and if it's not there, then you should look the video from yesterday. So I'll go ahead and pause the video, find these 4 things, and then I will be back with you shortly. Okay, so first thing we do when we have our 2 shapes, we need to figure out what are my scale factors. None of these numbers are really awesome, and so I'm going to think about ones that make sense to me. And between 8 and 14, I can find a relationship pretty easily. If you don't know what the scale factor is easy between 8 and 14, you can always take the second number, the number that we're going to. Again, please excuse me for my handwriting. I'm doing this on my computer. So I can always take that number, what happened here, that we're going to, the arrow's going to, and divide it by the first number. Now, this is probably a non-calculator problem. And so doing this, you'd have to think to yourself, how many times is 8 going to 14? You would tell yourself once. And how many are left over? And we have 6 out of the 8 are left over. And you should be able to pick up on that that is the same thing as 1 3/4. Now, when we're doing a scale factor, remember this is where fractions can come in really handy, but only if we write them as one fraction. So in this case, if I write this as an improper fraction, which would be 1 times 4 is 7, or excuse me, 1 times 4 is 4, plus 3 is 7 over 4. This will be really beneficial that this right here is my scale factor from the small to the large. So we have times 7/4. Remember that when I'm dealing with shapes, when I go from the large, or from the small to the large, we multiply by 7/4. Go in the other direction, then that tells me that I need to multiply by the reciprocal, that I need to multiply by the reciprocal, which would be 4/7. So those fractions really help us to find the scale factor going back and forth. So if I think back, it says find the measurements of x and y. If I think about here, I started at 4, and we are multiplying by this 7/4 up here. So I have 4 times, we'll write that as a fraction to make life easier, times 7/4. I see that I can cross cancel the 4's, and I'm left just with 7/1. So y equals 7. Likewise, when I come down and I go from the big shape to the small shape, the reduction, it's times 4/7. And so I need to find the corresponding side, which is this guy right here. And here's where we have to figure out a little bit of relationship between decimals and fractions. And I know that 1 3/4, 7/4, is the same thing as 1.75. And so if I am going to take 1.75 and not want to write that as a fraction, let's say 7/4 times my scale factor, which is 4/7. And we can see that this cancels out, this cancels out, that cancels, and that cancels, leaves us just with 1 for my value of x. So there's the first part of warm-up. The second one asked, find the scale factor. maybe I should have switched these two around because we've already found the scale factor. Scale factor is times 7/4 from the small and large into the big, and is times 4/7 from the large reducing to the small. Next, we talk about the area and perimeter of the small figure. I'm going to clear all of this. When we're doing this, the easiest way to find area is to split life up. Remember, this is a 1 right here. And so now when I find area, if I look just in this shape here, this is a rectangle. To find area of a rectangle, it's length times width. So we have 4 times 1 gives me an area of 4. On the middle here, I know that the length is 5. And here's where we got to add some things together. The length here is this value of 2 plus the value of 4, so 6 total. So we have 6 times 5 is an area of 30. And then over here, we got to do a little bit of work. And we know the whole top side is 8. I know that this chunk right here is 5. And I know this little piece over here is 1, which means that this little side is 2. Likewise, over here, we have to remember that we just found out the whole length here was 6. And if this part is 3, then that means that this part must be a 3 as well. And so then we have 2 times 3 is 6 over here. So to find the area of the smaller shape, we add 4 plus 6 is 10, plus 30 is 40. And let's just call it meters. Remember, when we talk about area, we are area, or meters squared. Let's talk about perimeter now. Remember, perimeter is just adding up all of the sides together. And so if I go through this, I'm going to get rid of that guy because I don't need it, because I know 8 is the entire top. So I have 8 plus 3 is 11. Over here, oh, sorry, I will need that 2, because that 2 goes right there. So I have 8 plus 3 is 11, plus 2 is 13, plus 3 is 16, plus 5 is 21, plus 2 is 23, plus this little 1 is 24, and plus the 4 here is 28. And so we get a perimeter of 28 meters squared. When the next problem talks about finding the area and perimeter of the enlarged shape, but by using the formula that we should be looking for is the area of the small times the scale factor squared, and then the perimeter of the small times the scale factor. So instead of writing in scale factor, we're going to say from the small to the large, the scale factor was 7/4, and I want to square that. And then this scale factor is just 7/4. Now, some fraction things. When I square a fraction, what I'm really doing is saying 7/4 times 7/4. 7 times 7 is 49. 4 times 4 is 16. So I get 49/16. Well, now we're going to multiply this times this. So then times 40 over 1. And that gets really tricky unless you can cross cancel some things and say, I know 4 goes into 40 and 16. 4 goes into here. Sorry about that. 4 goes in here 4 times. 4 goes into here 10 times. And so now I'm left with 490 divided by 4. And for today, if you'd like to keep it as that, that would be fine. That's going to be meters squared. Likewise, we got to come through here. We got to multiply 28 times 7/4. I know that 4 goes into here 1 time and goes into here 7 times. So really, I'm just left with 7 times 7, which is 49 meters. All right, next video, we'll talk about our investigation today.